Hey, good evening. Welcome to True Grit Crime. I am your host, Mamaw Gritty, and tonight we have a great um live prepared for you tonight. Tonight I have the a former investigator for the defense. Her name is Christine. She will be joining us tonight to talk about her experiences um, that have been um, that she dealt with throughout this case. So I'm really excited and happy to have her on as a guest. I just want to make sure that we understand that we're all adults here. Sometimes we may have differences of opinions, but I would just ask that everybody make sure that they are respectful, that they you know give some, I don't know, I guess maybe good feedback, whatever. I don't know. I guess, sorry guys, my brain is like blah. um Silenced. I put the link in the chat here for you. Hey wifey, welcome in. Hi Kathy S. Hi All Eyes. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Hey Cleveland Rocks. So Silenced, if you hit that link, you're able to come in and yeah. So make sure I gotcha. Sorry, guys. So 1 second.
Well, hello.
Yay, we got you.
How's it sound?
Just bear with me because I have a small bit of a delay, like when it comes back to me. So,
Okay.
hey, how are you?
I'm fiddling with my camera. Okay. I think we got it? We got it. All right. That'll work. I'm good. How are you?
Yep, we got it. We got
Okay.
it.
So I sound all right?
I am amazing. I am so excited to have you on here so that we can have, yes, you sound fantastic to me. Does she sound okay to everybody in chat? If so, can you please put a 1? Oh my goodness. So I think you sound great. So we'll
Okay.
just,
Good.
yep, woman says good. We're good to
All right.
go.
Good.
So
I'll scoot you up. Now, this is the first time I have ever done one of these. So forgive me if I screw up a lot. Be patient. So I realize most of y'all don't know
you're
me.
good. We are here to listen. We want to learn from you. We want to know your experiences.
Thank you. So my name is Christine.
So,
I was a private investigator for when I first started this case, it was as a private investigator. At one point I switched over to another role, and now I am a former investigator. So I don't speak on behalf of any of the attorneys or the defense team as a whole anymore. The laws of Indiana have some restrictions on what we can and cannot share. And then, of course, because I have some ethics, I still want Rick to have successful appeals. And so there may be some information that I can't share and some answers that I cannot, or some questions that I cannot answer, but I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can as they come up. Just just try to tolerate me if I say that I can't answer something. The other thing that I won't be doing is I can't share any documents, and I definitely won't be sharing any photos. Um, a lot was said today by the prosecution um, about photos being shared and leaked and whatnot. Um, and I feel just as angry that, um, you know, things that should have never seen the light of day did, and that a person lost their life because of the way that that was handled. And so that frustration is shared by, I think, anyone. I think everyone is probably just as frustrated and angry. And so I would never be a part of a situation like that. So just know that I will be kind of cautious about how much I can share. And of course, any kind of new information that happened during trial or after is all going to be, newly discovered evidence is ripe for appeal. And so I don't want to harm their chances at a good appeal. But in my eyes, we still have killers to catch. So I'm ready to do that. Did I lose you, Grady?
Yeah, absolutely. And we graciously thank you so much for coming on and for no.
We have
Okay,
a
sorry. I got
delay.
to tell on myself. So my laptop lost sound on it. So I have to wear a pair of headphones and listen to you guys secondhand.
Ah,
So just bear with me. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, and I have a delay as well. But but yes, we thank you so much, so graciously for taking your time to come and talk to us and everything. So, um, I guess I really want to start with this. How did you get involved in this case? Like what happened?
Okay, so it's craziest. It has been the craziest adventure of my life. So for the last probably 13, 14 years, I've worked as a victims advocate. I've worked on some missing persons cases. We've worked on some homicides. I work with a really, really good team of people. Um, Erica Morse is another one of the investigators. She's still working the case, Rick's case. We have worked together for over a decade. Um, and so when she was on court TV with uh, another investigator, and they had a banter back and forth, and that person approached Erica and said, "Hey, let's do Delphi together." So he came here, opened up an agency, and then hired Erica and I, and that's how we made that entry, and that's how um, I became an investigator for that agency. Indiana doesn't license individual investigators; they license agencies or firms, whatever word you want to use for it. So as long as you're employed by, that agency, then you're good to go. So I worked for a PI agency at the when I began working this case. So, that changed over time, and um, now I am not. So I it's been a fascinating change of events because defending individuals is not really my wheelhouse to begin with. I'm more a find a person that's missing and help get the person that made them go missing arrested and behind bars. And so when we when I first agreed to look at this case, um, I took I took the perspective of it's not my job to prove guilt nor innocence. It's just my job to go out, find facts, hand those facts over, be what they may, and then let the lawyers do the lawyering. And and I still hold true to that. I still believe that lawyers should do the lawyering. Um, and investigators do the investigating, and I did that. Well, it it wasn't very long before I felt I as I read through the voluminous amount of data that our discovery was just insane. Um, the amount of it was just insane. But it didn't take me very long to start noticing trends and to start getting a feel for what may have really happened here. And as I went on and um, continued my work as the information that the detectives found changed, new players entered my, you know, my my laser vision, and some left. And so there was an ebb and flow of, potential suspects kind of come and go. But there was always this consistent little undercurrent there of a couple of different types of groups of people. And it didn't take very long for me to realize that none of those people were Rick Allen, and that he didn't have any ties to any of
Right.
the the groups that I think may have been involved in what happened.
Right. And when you talk about the voluminous amount of discovery, you guys had what, like 26 terabytes worth of documents and discovery that came in?
We did. So we kind of did a divide and conquer with some of the information that was in discovery. So I personally did not lay eyes on all of it. Um, I don't I don't know that any I don't know how much the other individuals saw, but I know that I did not um, see all of it. But I wouldn't have been able to read all of it anyway. Like, I spent over a year and didn't
Right.
get to every piece of paper. Like, one file was 48,000 pages. So, and that was just one file. Like, when we talk about terabyte hard drives, my first hard drive that I was given was 4 terabytes. Those aren't those are more than a desktop tower would hold, like, all the way full. And that's just what I started with. Like, that amount of information is almost unconceivable to,
Mhm.
like, when you realize that it's not movies, it's not fancy graphics. It's just paper with with written writing, you know what I mean? It's just written paper and some photographs and some films. But like, for example, the bridge video, I didn't see that for the first time until I was in court. So that's just something that I didn't have, because I didn't need it. It wasn't relevant to the work that I did. It was really relevant to the work that other people did, but the work that I did, it wasn't really relevant.
And like when you saw the video the first time in court, can you give kind of like a description of what you saw in the video and um just your how that all worked if you're able to talk about it?
Yeah, I can actually. You know, that video is public now. Whether the media is going to be able to get their hands on it, we don't know yet. We'll see. The lawyers are doing the lawyering on that one. But what I saw when I watched the video, or my perception of what I saw, is that they weren't really trying to capture the bridge guy. Um, they did, but that like wasn't the goal. Like we had really been told, like the public had been told early in the case that, you know, the girls bravely turned the camera on their attacker, and you know they were thinking, like they were critical thinkers, and they took this video. They did, and I'm glad that they did. Um, but that wasn't exactly the goal. One of the girl that had the phone, I will tell you, I don't remember who was filming and who was walking on the bridge, because I just don't remember. I was in shock, and so the face of who was who is just gone. But one was standing on the end of the bridge holding her phone, or at least, you know, a couple tiles from the end holding the phone. And she was facing down the bridge filming the other girl. And then way back in the background, you could see, like, it was like he popped out, you know, if you're looking at one of the girls, you see him kind of just take a real quick, like, this step out. Well, what it was is because he was just walking along, and he just happened to, you know, you're dodging holes, you're dodging shitty railroad ties, and so he happened to take a step. And when he happened to take that step, he stepped into the camera view. But in my opinion, he was little bitty. Like he was just like he was way off in the distance. So you couldn't, that's what floored me.
Mhm.
The first time they showed it, I didn't even see it because I was looking for, like, where were we going to see this video that we had all seen of this guy taking these 3 steps, or this big step. Well, shit, I didn't realize he was a tic tac on the far end of the bridge. Like,
Mhm.
I I wasn't expecting that. And so of course I was trying to hear
Right.
this booming voice say downhill. And what I actually heard, I was also trying to hear the girls terrified at the end of the bridge, which I also never heard. What I heard, to me, it sounded like the girls were confused. Um, like, the path ends here. Where's the path? There's no more trail. And then you can hear somebody very, very close to the camera. It sounded like to me, and it was almost a whisper of down the hill. So the audio clip that we all heard,
Yeah.
on the news, they took and amplified, of course, because you could barely hear. Um, but I don't know. I, I, we ended up seeing it 3 times in total throughout trial. We saw it that first day, and then we saw it again during someone's testimony later, and then we saw it during closing. So we saw it 3 times overall. But I don't understand how turning up the volume on a whisper turned it into this deep male voice. Like that part confuses me a
Can
little.
you please not do this?
Happened. Um, so yeah, it didn't seem tense. The camera starts upright when they're filming the video, but then it goes sideways for part of the video. Like you can tell she just was kind of, not paying attention. I wonder if she didn't realize she was taking video, like maybe she meant to be taking photos, or she got distracted, or maybe she didn't notice that there was somebody back there and was uncomfortable. I don't know. Um, so saw
Please stop
when we saw it on TV.
pissing me off.
What? Who am I hearing? Is that you, Gritty?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. There's a delay, so I could only hear like a little tap. I thought maybe somebody else joined us. I'm sorry. So that short little clip, I know how that was made. Um, but it was so. Now I understand. After seeing the original, I understand why they had to do so much work to get to that short clip of him taking a step. I understand why they had to alter that so much, because the original version, it was not clear. But they had to clean it up, and they had to make it usable for print. They had to make it usable for TV, and they were trying to make it identifiable so that the public could use that video and recognize their dad or their grandpa or the guy next door or whatever. They were trying to clean that up so that the public could identify it. I don't think they really ever meant it to be used in court in the beginning. Unfortunately, they did get to play it in court. So there's that. But that's what I remember from that video.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. So, woman or Pebbles is asking, did they ever disclose who edited the video and how?
Yes, they did. So they not only discussed it in court, but they also, so when in trials in general, not just this trial. So altering images to be used in court or even for public identification, like they did that video. You get the defense teams get the original, then you get the edited version, and then you get a step-by-step report of every change that they make. So you get it'll say that here is where we used a blurring tool. Here is where we used a deblurring tool. Here is where we used a brightening tool. Here is where we used a masking tool. So when those changes are made, in any case, you get this report of exactly what was done to photos. Same for video. You get a very, very detailed report, step by step, what was changed and how it was changed. So defense teams know that what has happened, what has been done, and then they also have the original. So you can compare what has been altered and what has not been altered. So then when it comes time to trial, the attorneys discuss every piece of evidence that is going to be introduced at trial. The attorneys for both sides discuss, and then they do as attorneys do. If they agree, great. If they don't agree, then the judge decides whether it comes in or it doesn't. And this case worked like any others in that way. So the bridge video, the longer version of the bridge video, is the original version. The short video of bridge guy taking a step, where that's the one that was released to the public, that was altered, and we know who did it and we know exactly how, and that was testified to in court. But it was never a secret. Well, that's the problem with gag orders, right? So you can't clean up public perception. So when people first started asking about the photos and the videos, we couldn't answer them. So it's a total information vacuum, and the public does what the public does when they don't have any answers. And especially in a case that is so cantankerous is the word that I'll use. Corruption seems like something I shouldn't say out loud, but when you're dealing with a case that has so many allegations, when you can't get answers, you get to fill in the blanks however you choose to fill in the blanks, right? I mean, we all do that. So that story kind of spun out of control, and we were crippled because we couldn't correct it. And so it kind of grew a life of its own as it went on. And so even now, we can't share documents. So it's not like I can give that document and say, here's the report, here's the original. Can't do that. So that is something that's going to have to now wait. Now I get to tell people again, here we have to wait until after the appeals process is over. But we're going to have to wait until the appeals process is over. And I have a feeling that we're going to get to hear it again. So we're going to get to see the videos again. It's going to be in a different court, and maybe, I don't know. Lawyers are doing the lawyering. So I have a sneaking suspicion that there may be another trial or 2 or 15. Hell, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I have a feeling that we may get to see those videos again. And we might get cameras in a courtroom in the future. I don't know. So did I answer it all? I don't remember.
I sure hope we get cameras in the courtroom in the future. Yes. Woman doing Walla Holla wanted to know, in the video, did it sound like the girls knew the person that had walked up to them and whispered down the hill?
I don't know, because the video shut off, right? Like as soon as he said down the hill, then the video turned off. So I don't know. I don't know if she turned it off because, you know, she found the guy she was looking for that showed her how to get down the hill, right at the end of that bridge. If you go down it, there's there's a bench right down there. So there's also a private drive right underneath there. So, I mean, did she meet somebody down there and did they lead them down the hill and they thought they were gonna do some real quick something or go on a run for some ice cream and then get back there before they were getting picked up? How, I don't know. Like I don't know. But I can say that up until that point, they, to me, did not sound alarmed. And 13 and 14-year-old girls have voices like fingernails on a chalkboard when they're frightened. And there was none of that. Like there was none of that like panic. I didn't hear any of that. Like my niece, that scream if you scare her, that scream, I didn't hear any of that. Oh wait, and neither did anybody else at the bridge that day. So, yeah, I don't know if they knew.
Cleveland Rock would like to know the pic of Abby on the bridge that was not on Libby's phone. She wants to know if you guys were ever able to pinpoint where that photo was specifically found to come from.
So we so it wasn't on her phone. So the assumption, if we were assuming, you can assume that either someone was signed in to her account on another phone and loaded a picture of Abby on the bridge while they were at the bridge, and Abby's phone happened to use a data signal at the same time, which would be magical. Or you can assume that Abby took the photo while she was on the bridge and uploaded it from the bridge using the camera feature direct from Snapchat rather than her phone's camera app, right? So when you take a picture with your phone, you're using your phone's built-in app. So did she use the Snapchat app? I mean, probably. Did somebody else load it? It's possible. It could be, but we know that we do know that her phone was there at that time. So it wouldn't make sense for somebody else to have done it if we know she was there at that time. So that's
Right.
where.
Right. All Eyes would like to know, did law enforcement ever do an extraction of the locked iPad?
Ooh, good question. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I have no idea. That is not a piece of the discovery that I had. Um, so I don't know. But that's a good question. I know that.
Okay, Bella's coming in with another question.
Okay.
Um, sorry.
No, you're fine. I know that Erica is going to be Doing.
I didn't mean to cut off your thought.
No, you're fine. I think Erica is going to be doing some interviews, but I think she's going to be sticking to mainstream. Mike Osbrook may know. I might know. I don't know who. I don't know who the appellate lawyers are going to be, so I can't really send you their way either. So I'm not sure who would know about the iPad, but I really don't. I would tell you if I did. I would if I can't answer something, I will tell you guys that I cannot answer it. I'm not going to sit here and play stupid and say I don't know if I know something. I will tell you that I can't answer it. Okay, so what was Bella's question?
Gotcha. Okay. Bedtime stories with Bella Lugosi. She said, we heard today from a victim impact statement that Abby said something like, don't leave me. Is that true?
I did not hear anything similar to that. So they also said that she said something about he got gun or they got gun, something. Like the English was really bad for that to have been what she said. But I didn't hear that either. And I had talked to other people. I'm plugging my phone in. Sorry, you guys got to see my armpit for a second there. I talked to other people that were in the courtroom and also did not hear it that way. So at the end of the video, when the girls are talking, they're kind of high pitched and they were obviously not talking clearly to be understood like you and I are. They were just kind of mumbling about, I don't know where the path ends. So I couldn't hear. I didn't hear anything that sounded like don't leave me. That doesn't ring a bell to me. That didn't sound like what I heard.
Okay. Is there anything else that you are able, like, because I'm not really sure, like, the whole parameters of what you can and can't talk about. So can you kind of guide me about what you can and can't?
So if it's something that is already in the gray out there, it just needs some more explaining. If it's like the photos, or um, pretty much anything that's kind of floating around, we can talk about. If it's newly discovered evidence, and really you guys aren't going to know
Okay.
whether it's
So I have a question.
till you ask me. You're going to have to ask me for me to go, oh yep, can't go there. So because you're not psychic and neither am I, and so I would say go ahead and ask, and I'll just tell you if I can't answer, because you know all right, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Okay. So, as far as Libby's phone, no, you're good, no worries. As far as Libby's phone, when they were talking about this signing in on Libby's phone, I was looking at a website. I can't remember whether it was WTHR or I want to say it was WTHR when I did the summarizations of the days of the different uh, testimony, right? So
Right.
on one of the days it talks about, the logging in on Libby's phone, right? So there was fingerprint access by both Libby and Abby on that phone. But when they recapped it, they said that there were 6 fingerprints on that phone, specifically. Can you talk about that? Do we know about that? How that is?
I can, and I would tell you if I knew. So I only know that there were at least 2, um, because that's what I heard him say in court. Um, I didn't have that. I did. That was one of the pieces that I didn't have. But I do know that Abby and Libby's fingerprints were both on that phone. Now,
Okay.
if I was, just another mom, I would assume that, Kelsey's finger was probably on there. Um, you know, Logan Holder, maybe, that's just because I know how girls are with their phones. So, if you get grounded from your phone, you go use your sister's phone. You know what I mean? So it just kind of makes sense that, you know, her sister's probably one of them, and her the boy that you like, people that you spend some amount of time with could could have access to your phone. Like my spouse has their fingerprint in my phone, you know.
Gotcha. Okay. Kathy S. would like to know, do we know if Abby had a phone?
Ooh, ooh. So Abby did. hmm, Abby did not have a phone of her own that anyone knows anything about. So there is nothing to indicate that Abby had a phone because her fingerprint was in Libby's phone. So if she needed to do anything that day, she could just use Libby's phone. Um, Now we still have unidentified phones in the area. So that's that. And um, I can't identify who those phones belong to. I mean, we've already heard some of it. There was a map that's been released or early. I don't know how that map, I don't know. I don't remember how that map got released. It may have been in an attachment in a filing or something. But there's a map that shows, some phones around the um, crime scene if y'all want to go look for them. So there's some unidentified phones. There are some identified phones. There's some phones around that area that we know who they are, or that I know who they are. I keep forgetting that we're not a we anymore. Like I'll remind everybody again, I do not speak on behalf of the defense team. So I'm saying we, but it's out of habit and like sheer laziness. I keep forgetting that I'm now an I. So like there are phones that I know who those phones belong to, but there are also some phones that I do not know who they belong to. But I don't have any reason to believe that they would belong to Libby. But I also don't have a reason to believe that they would not belong to Libby. So interpret that how you will.
Gotcha. Okay, Cleveland Rocks would like to know, was the outside of Libby's phone swabbed for DNA?
Yes. It took me a second because, there's a lot, there's a lot of DNA um, attempts. There's a lot of DNA that was collected. There's a lot of evidence in this case that just hadn't come up yet. But yes, her phone was processed for, I believe, that they processed it for a few different types of trace evidence. But I'm not for certain. But I know that attempts were made. I don't recall what the results were. And if I don't recall what the results were, they were probably nothing shocking.
Okay, got you. So, Jenny 8675309
Oh,
wants to know, what is the Goldilocks phone rumor? So the Goldilocks phone was a phone that was given turned into defense team that was in possession of Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend Taylor Hornaday. Um, she reached out to investigators to let them know that she had this phone that had contained a video of somebody allegedly being kidnapped. Um, and the phone did not go get picked up after Click said that he reached out to Holman after a couple of weeks. So somebody else went and picked up that phone and then brought it to the defense. And they talked about that in the March 18th hearing. So that's what the Goldilocks phone is. Can you talk more about the Goldilocks phone?
so I don't remember a whole lot about it except for, man, there are some days that you realize that you walk among rock stars. And that was one of those days. Like, I am not one to be easily starstruck because, I kind of know a lot of people, but to look at somebody and think, "Oh my god, I cannot believe that I'm sharing air with this person." That day was the day for me. I was like, "Oh my god, that was freaking amazing." So that phone, I remember being so upset that, like, they had to go collect their own evidence. And it's not the only evidence that they had to go collect, but I know that they retrieved it, and I know that it was processed. What they got off of it, what they tried to get off of it, I don't know. I didn't have that part, but it tells you a lot when law enforcement doesn't even.
Okay. And you're,
Try. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. Um, Cleveland Rock says, "Do you know who was in the crime scene geofence?"
Ooh, that's another good one. So yes, some. I know some of who was in the geofence. We weren't allowed to use it, but that's the thing about appeals, right? So that's part of why I have to be really careful about what I discuss and what I can't. And the geofence is going to be one of those things that I just I can't really spill about, because I think I think it might be usable in the future. If things go the way that I would like them to go, and I'm not a lawyer, and I am not speaking for these lawyers, because I never did, nor will I ever have a say in what gets used and what doesn't. However, I have a feeling that if appeals happen, that we'll be hearing about that geofence data. So I can tell you that I know who some of the people are that were in the geofence. Um, and there are some that are a mystery to me. If they're a mystery to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a mystery to others, because I only got the information that I got. You know what I mean? So, um, someone else may have identified the others, because they're all still working. They are still spending an insane amount of hours working. They are working
Yeah.
very, very, very hard. Today was a day of celebration for one team, and today was just another work day for another. So,
Yes. So Monica P, Spectrum of Thoughts, has a question. She says, what about the other phone that was labeled victim, but it was a different phone than Libby's? It was in a stated document.
mhm. So, mm, I can't. See, this is going to be hard. This is going to suck for all of us, because I can't tell you. And I can't tell you why I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I can't tell you.
Okay. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. We respect that. When the day comes that you can talk about it, we would love for you to be able to share with us. In the meantime, we do want to make sure that everything is preserved for the record for Richard, that we are respecting his rights, everybody's rights on, the attorneys and everybody else working hard at this case. So we can come back to that later. We can circle back.
Yeah.
Cleveland Rocks wanted to know, even though you can't talk about the individuals that were described to be in the geofencing, like those individuals, they're asking, do you know if those individuals may have been questioned by law enforcement?
Um, some. Yes. Yes. Some.
Okay. Let's see. Bedtime with Bella says, after listening to the self-serving press conference today, I'd like it to be stated that the defense leak was preceded by a major leak months earlier. Can either of you speak on this? Yes.
So,
So
some.
when I attended
Go ahead.
the March 18th hearing, and Lieutenant Holman was on the stand, they were talking about leaks. They were specifically talking about crime scene photos, what those things entailed. They talked about that there were leaks like earlier on. Before this new leak came out, they spoke about that there were 2 previous leaks that had happened concerning the crime scene photos. They spoke about that the initial first leak that happened, they did not even take any action legally to even investigate any further information regarding these leaks. Period. They talked about private citizens having photos. They talked about photographs of a tripod on the ground, a photograph of a boot print or footprint, or well, not a footprint, but a shoe print that was on the ground. You know, um, I don't understand how it is that everything can be just lopped onto the defense regarding all of this, because they even talked about that they had specifically labeled all of these different sets of leaks, these between these 3 leaks, they labeled them differently so that they knew what set of leaks came from where. Okay. And if you didn't log the first one and you're talking about 2 more leaks, in my opinion, that could be up to what? 4 leaks. Okay.
Mhm.
That's their job to investigate that. Mr. Rossi got up on the stand and they showed him photos that Mr. Rossi had never even seen before. He said under oath, I've never even seen those photos ever. That's a problem. Also, Mr. Hennessy talked about the fact that there were not even just the crime scene photos, but documents that had been leaked to different individuals. And they talked about that there was a leak that they could literally trace back to Nicholas McLeland, right hand to God. So I think people need to really go back and reread those transcripts. In my opinion, go through it. I don't think that Mr. Hennessy would have stated that on the record for nothing, in my opinion.
So I know that there have been leaks, right? So I'm a big one on accountability. So I know that Mitch Westerman in the beginning, he, according to his court record, admitted to what he took. So there's that.
I was at all of Mr. Westerman's hearings.
Oh, that's
He
right.
did. He did. He eventually got an affidavit that was drawn up. He took full responsibility for taking the items that did not belong to him. He stated that the defense was not at fault for that he did that of his own accord without their knowledge. So, yeah.
So there was that. And so, you know, you take your lumps when you need to take your lumps, right? I am aware that there have been others. And any time that I come across anything that looks to me like it shouldn't be in the wilds, it gets turned over, because I'm an investigator and that's my job. Well, I was an investigator and that was my job. And even now, if I come across anything that is confidential and should not be in the wilds, I'm going to continue to turn that over. So if you don't want me to turn something over that you have, don't send it to me, because I'm going to, right?
Right.
But that's just because I'm a decent human being. And
Right.
and the team that I worked with are ethical people. Like, I'm not speaking for them, I'm speaking for me, but I am very, very proud of the team that I worked with. Extremely proud. And I watched them sacrifice uh, way more than people should be expected to sacrifice because of a case. Like, they're just trying to do their jobs. Um, some of them had been targeted legally. Some of them, you know, I'll let them all tell their own stories. It's not really my job to tell somebody else's story, but man, some of the people that I work with have just been subject to some really horrific abuse. Even I was accused last week of leaking information by someone who had no, they had nothing to back that up, like nothing, because I don't do that. So imagine 2 years of that. Like, your neck is always on the line. Every move that you make, every word that you say, every step that you take, every look that you give somebody, you are under the gun. Um, and I am so proud of all of them. And they survived and they stuck it through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were fired and rehired, and you know, we had people come and go, and there's just been so much. And but when you're working a case like that, you can't complain. How you gonna sit there and say my life's been put through the ringer while an innocent man is facing the amount of time that he's facing, and he's being tortured? Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's this weird dichotomy where you
Yeah.
can't talk about what's happening to you because around you people's lives are on fire. Like, Rick's wife is the best hugger in the world,
Yeah. Falling apart. And
and I admire her strength and her grace, and she tolerated it all silently and with so much grace. Like, it's easy to go out into the wind and just scream. And that entire team never screamed. Never did they scream for mercy. Never. They tolerated it every step of the way. And that gag order that everybody's been under, um, it made it impossible for us to even, we couldn't even recoup our reputations. We couldn't defend ourselves. We couldn't, you know. And so even right now, I hesitate because I know that my comments will be clipped, and it will be, look at this woman complaining about her plight when two girls are dead. You know what I mean? So you have to be cognizant of that. And you have the world
I
looking.
don't think that it's just you have given so much of your time, your energy. You were not even paid during this entire time that you worked,
That's correct.
helping to find answers for this case. There's so many answers that have been left unanswered, so many things that have been left unsaid. We still have to wait a really, really, really long time. But there are a lot of different layers to this case. I don't care what Mr. Carter said today. There are tentacles, there are other pieces to this case. They go far They run deep. And I know that for myself. You know, I'm not going to sit here and argue the semantics of it with him.
You know,
But
one of the things I'm looking forward to is
we owe it to Rick and the girls for this process to be done the right way. That these girls deserve true justice, and that if whether he's innocent or guilty, involved or whatever, that the evidence speaks for itself, and that you're able to see that the evidence will reveal that. But this is not what we have seen here. We have not seen this. I, in my personal opinion, do not feel that this was beyond the shadow of a doubt at all whatsoever. And I went to every hearing that I could go to. I listened openly to everything that was being said very intently. I even went and did my own research. So I feel like this needs to be redone completely. And he shouldn't even have been blocked from having a defense. I mean, that right there is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm an avid trial watcher. No way. No way.
Yeah, it's been one of the things that I look forward to now is being able to pivot me personally, not the rest of the defense team, because they are going to stay the course and they are going to finish getting Rick the justice that he needs. I will be able to pivot and work on some of the other issues
Yes.
that don't involve Rick. And I will be able to continue movement on some of the other Delphi dirt. So is my work done in Delphi? Kinda.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to be a PI in Delphi. But am I done trying to figure it out? The rest of what, like the rest of the story, like the homicides and Rick and all of that, that I left in the hands of very, very capable people. Oh, but we still got other shit going on. You know what I mean? And that is where I plan to focus my energy is on the rest of it. Because it's what I'm best at, and it's where I think that I can help the most. That community needs healing, and they're never going to heal when they have a festering wound. And so we'll do what we can over there, or I will do what I can over there. And I have a kind of impressive Rolodex. So I will have some help, you know, you. But this none,
Definitely. Definitely. I plan on trying to help as much as I can.
none of this feels I don't feel defeated, but none of this shit feels right. Like it doesn't feel fair. Like it would I would feel better if I felt like we got some if we had at least not had to fight with our hands tied behind our back. You know what I mean? You cannot investigate in a vacuum. And by,
Yeah. silencing us, it, 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 it,
and by it made it incredibly
No.
difficult to investigate. Like you cannot investigate without talking to people. But we can talk to people. Like so it was this weird undercurrent. But then when you go to people who have incredible research, so by the way, thank you. So people may not be aware, but Gritty is one of the people that I leaned on when I needed help because you are like a fucking dictionary of Delphi. So, and it was hard at first because it's a one-way
Thank you.
conversation. Like, I could come to you and ask for something, but then I had to say, hey, I need help with this, but I can't tell you why I need it. Like, or I need everything that you have on this person, but I can't tell you why I
Yeah.
want it. Or I need
It's crazy.
this address, but I can't tell you why I want it. But it was an insane kind of working relationship. But let me tell you, YouTubers got a really bad rap through this whole process because y'all painted with one big broad brush. But let me tell you, you guys saved me hundreds of hours of work because it was like you already had a database built. So when I came along and found you, and I was like, if I needed anything, like
Good.
you had files on everything, didn't matter what topic I came up with. And you're not the only one that I leaned on. So I'm grateful. And you deserve for people to know that you're helpful, incredibly helpful. And I'm really, really grateful for your willingness to
Thank you.
answer my phone calls on short notice of me asking for some whacked out stuff. And you didn't even usually ask me questions about what I needed. You were just like, okay. I looked like a genius. One day I was in the office.
No, because it's a don't ask, don't tell. All I know is that it's not hard to see like, okay, you're like, I can't tell you what I need this for, but I need this. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like I don't just ask questions. I just went and got it and brought it to you and that's it. You know? I figured that whatever it was that I was going to dig for later on, if it helped in the greater good of being able to seek justice for the girls, then that's what I was going for. So I tried to stay out of all of the distractions. I tried to stay out of all of the deflections and just focus all of my energy on grabbing whatever we needed.
I was in the office one day with some coworkers and a subject came up and I was like, they were having a hard time finding information. I was having a hard time finding information. And I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to an informant. So I called, or I think I texted you and was like, I need everything you've got on this group. Not 10 minutes
You
later
did.
did I had more information than had been able to be found in months. And I looked like a rock star, man. You made me look like a genius. I mean, I gave credit where credit was due and said I didn't do this on my own. Obviously, I didn't come up with
Well,
it.
thank you.
Obviously, I have squirrels, but it was situations like that. That's like that's the thing is we do work like that. That's normal. That's normal PI work. But doing it under a gag order is risky
Yeah.
because there's always that chance that
is
somebody
difficult.
see
It
us.
is so difficult and risky.
Somebody's going to misunderstand. Somebody's going to see me say hi to you and be like, oh, Fond Lake. Or, see me comment and say, oh, yeah,
Yep.
something fishy there.
Yep.
So
And that's
it just made it hard. I've never had a situation.
it's ridiculous. And
Yeah,
it does make it hard.
made it really, really difficult. It was awkward. But that's just, that's how it affected me personally. The work still got done, but man, it was
It was. Well,
every
we worked around it though.
we did. We did.
Mhm.
Um it it was worth it. Like it was worth every bit of the risk. Um, you know, I kept my circle small, but it's been a fascinating ride. Like I can say Delphi changed me as a person. I learned some of the darkest things about humanity.
Yeah.
I also learned to see the light. Like I have met some of the most wonderful humans through this case. When we were waiting for the verdict, there was this group of women that just they didn't know me at all before that, before verdict watch. One of them, I had contact with one of them. But this group of women, it was like they just kind of wrapped us up in these loving hands and just they fed us, they housed us because we had to stay within, 5 minutes of the courthouse. Um, they were just wonderful. So, we had experiences like that. But then there were the others of, neo Nazis watching us and taking pictures of us coming and going from the courthouse. So there was also that. Like, there was just this weird dichotomy of what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was worth.
Yeah, and I remember like when you and I met, like the morning we met was the morning of the March 18th hearing before we went inside. And I met you and Erica both. I'm standing in line, you guys. It's cold as all get out, you know what I mean? And we're just kind of having a conversation generally about the case and like our different opinions and such. And you were so kind and Erica was so kind, but you kind of leaned in. You were like, you know, I work with the defense. And I was like, oh, well, there was some things that I had came across um that I had saved and held on to for like 2 years because I was very nervous about giving it to anybody. Um, because the person that had sent it my way was very afraid of giving it to the wrong people.
Mhm.
Because it was really a big piece of something that was really dangerous. Um, and so I leaned into you and I told you like, hey, I've got some stuff, but um also like what was really weird is like I know this may seem crazy, but I talked about the experience that happened with my daughter, um, you know, back in 2018. And when I had started doing research and I saw names and I saw correlations and things like that, I leaned into you and I was like, I really don't want you to think like I'm a conspiracy theorist. I was like, but I really do feel like there's something with this that's connected. And the look that came, like you and Erica couldn't say anything, but your eyes just went wide and you were like, that's not public information. And I was like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, but then I found out, like, when I went to that hearing that morning, that somebody that was connected to making KKK flyers was somebody that they discussed, like, that's in, like, this little bracket, and it really just my heart was just like, "Oh my gosh," because even though I didn't want to, like, believe that that was something that could be, like, connected on a larger narrative, and no matter what anybody says, it's a very serious connection, with a very much larger and much more dangerous issues going on. Um, so yeah, for me, like, I've had the experience, I've lived it, so I can say that for myself, but um this is why, like, I'm shaking my head back and forth going like this with Mr. Carter today when he's like, this is not connected to something bigger. It is. Um Something else that, like, I noticed that was crazy was that um like 2 days after the jury was, like, sequestered, there were KKK flyers that were dropped up, like, they were drawn up in Allen County, and they were dropped in neighborhoods in people's yards in Allen County. So I thought that that was a really interesting correlation. And that's not the first time that these fires have been dropped off in areas. So yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy, and I'm not like a conspiracy theorist. But there are different things that I have seen that I felt are connected. There are very important pieces that I made sure to give you. Um, and I know that our time working together was really difficult, and we just had to work around it, you know? So I just appreciate you taking the time, listening to me, having faith in me, appreciating the work that I was putting in. But it wasn't just me putting in work. There were so many other beautiful angels along this journey, that were helping, you know? And we will forever be thankful and grateful to all of those individuals. Whether we agree, disagree, whatever, you guys are amazing.
All of
And you just help to spread that love and that light and put that into the world, hopefully for something better and greater.
absolutely. Yeah, that group that of people that you assembled is pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. They all are. They are rock stars.
Well, I didn't assemble them. They were assembled, and I got invited, and they were absolutely amazing people. Amazing. So no matter what disagreements or whatever, I send all of my love out to each and every one of you, because there are so many things that you guys helped with as well. And I don't want to take that credit for just me, because I was not the only person
Mm.
working hard behind the scenes to make sure that these girls were receiving every bit of help, justice, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
none of them even like went out into the wilds and said, I'm helping the defense. Like they all were content to just fly under the radar. I'm astounded. It was so wonderful. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all just kept their head down, did the work, and were
But it was amazing. It
incredible.
was amazing because everybody's mind, everybody is so strong. Yeah, they were so strong in different areas, and everybody would kind of like look at it in different perspectives, and we'd all have that time to be able to discuss things, and it was really helpful. It really was. It was very eye-opening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Every perspective matters, because I was having this conversation with Bella earlier. You know, everybody has confirmation bias, right? Like once you come up with a theory of your own, it's easy to dismiss anything that doesn't fit your theory, or you can take other facts once they start to come out and then manipulate your theory in a way to make those pieces fit. We see people do it all the time. Like in general, and I'm not talking about anybody in general, so y'all just relax.
Yeah.
In this case, people who thought that Rick was guilty in the beginning, right? Well, then the Franks memo came out and it listed all of these reasons why not, right? And you heard the pieces of the click report when that came out. So then those people that went from, yep, he did it by himself, this is when he did it, this is how he did it. Well, when those other pieces of evidence came along, then they would manipulate the story to, yep, he did it with these other guys, right? So that's confirmation bias at work right there.
Yeah.
That's what people mean when they say there's confirmation bias. It's when you believe your own truth so much that you then see the other things happening and you can't pivot with new evidence. And that is something that happens to investigators
Right.
all the time. And I've done it in cases before. And so when I started this case, I told myself, all I'm here to do is fact find, turn it over to the lawyers and let it be what it is. Well, I humaned, like humans do. I once I thought I figured it out, then I became
Right.
emotionally invested. And I still am emotionally invested in the outcome. I just it's just not my path. So but I still
Yeah.
I still
Are
don't
you
think he did this.
are you ready for some more questions?
Mhm.
All right. So Kendall B says, why didn't the defense go in on the many inconsistencies with Kelsey German's stories? Was it strategic? What is your opinion on the drug meth theory?
Ooh. So why the defense did or didn't do anything, I I'm not really gonna have a go at them because I respect them enough not to Monday morning quarterback their decisions, but also because I know that it is their belief that there is going to be an appeals process, right? So if you know you're going to be able to appeal, you know you're going to have another trial, there is no value in attacking the sister of a murder victim. Like that has no purpose um, for this trial. So I feel like that probably might have played into a decision, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't make those decisions. And it's not like they ask our permission first, like, what should we do? We don't even I didn't even weigh in on those kinds of things. Like, I found out about filings after they were filed and I read them online somewhere. I found out about a lot of them from YouTube. Um, some of it I had an inkling that something was coming down the pipeline because you could kind of tell. But like the the Westville report, I did the um, research for that report. I didn't do the whole thing. I didn't do all the research, but I did some research for that, so I kind of had an inkling that something was coming out of Westville. But I personally think that it just probably wasn't worth putting anybody through that, because there was going to be there's going to be a second trial, at least a second trial.
Okay.
But I mean, that's my opinion of what that was. There was a second question, and it was a good one, and I want to answer it, but I don't remember what it is. Can you remind me again?
Yes, I can. They were asking what your opinion was about the drug meth ring.
Yeah. Okay, so it is
Was
my
it oh, what is your opinion on the drug ring meth theory? Drug ring meth theory.
it is my opinion that Delphi has a higher than average, much higher than average number of meth cooks, meth dealers, meth traffickers, and meth consumers. I don't know what is going on over there with all of the meth, but for a town so small, they just seem to be inundated. So I don't see how it couldn't be a factor. Like how could it not be a factor? Um, and when I talk about the direction that I'm going to pivot into, that's probably one of those things that have nothing to do with Rick, that I plan to look a little deeper at. I'm no longer a PI, right? So I have to be careful with that as well. Like I can't investigate it like a PI would, but I can still look at things. So looking into that drug connection, and how the drugs function in that community is probably something I'll continue to look at, like for my own personal reasons. And do I think it's related to the case? Probably. I mean, I wish I could. Yeah, I can't really go any further than that. I can't, I can't say much more than that. Like, this is one of those that I can't answer more than this.
You're good. I got you. Okay. Gotcha. So Cleveland Rocks wants to know, did any of the private investigators question Holder's workmates, employers, check cameras, etc., for his alibi?
Oh, yeah. So mm, the private investigators specifically, I don't know. Law enforcement, uh, is that something I can answer? Let me think. So I know that that his alibi was checked by law enforcement, and one branch of law enforcement, and I know that a second branch of law enforcement sent them back to recheck it. And I personally still have a question mark.
You're muted, I think. Oh,
I personally still, yeah, it's because I'm thinking on how to answer that. I personally have a question mark about how solid that is. Like that's my
oh,
personal
okay. Sorry.
is that his alibi still has a bit of a question mark in my opinion. Um, you know, we'll see. We'll see what comes up down the line. The lawyers are going to do the lawyering. The Erica and
Okay.
the other investigators are going to continue to investigate, and we'll see. We'll see what comes up down the line. But I did not personally check his alibi.
Right. Um, Cleveland Rocks wants to know, do you have a theory about the health data and elevation? And did you and Erica walk the possibilities?
So there is another PI that did walk those possibilities. And any of y'all can do that. Well, I can't answer using investigative data because that may come up later. But I will tell you that I saw someone in the public that walked that. They went out to the crime scene with their Apple Watch, and the hike from
Mm-hmm.
the crime scene or from the creek. What's that? The from the creek up to the Webbers, I think, is that elevation. I think that was the walk that matched the elevation
Mm-hmm.
closely. Um, but I didn't check it myself, but that's an opinion that I saw public. Um, but the work product of the PI that our or the defense PI that did that, you may see that work product later, but I don't really want to talk about what he found. But my opinion is that Apple Watches are they're pretty close. They're not always dead on, but um they're usually pretty close. So there was an elevation change, I'm sure. How it happened exactly, man, I don't know. I still that's one thing when I decided to take a different path. I still have unanswered questions. So some some of what y'all are asking, I'm gonna find out later too, because there's still some things that I don't know or I I think I know, but I like don't feel emotionally
Okay.
settled with yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Aaron M. Town would like to know, what did you most look forward to telling us?
Um, I most looked forward to telling everyone thank you. Um, that is what I have really been chomping at the bit is to thank everyone because this this has been um, difficult, and people like you and Aaron and others have made it easier. So that is what I have been most looking forward to, is just saying thank you. The other is just, if people have questions that I can answer to make you sleep better at night, I will do that, because some things, you know, sometimes you get this doubt in your mind and you just need an answer, and it's just going to irritate the shit out of you. Well, if I can answer that, I'm going to answer it, because y'all have worked your humps
Yeah.
off. You deserve that.
Man, I can't tell you how many nights, like sleepless nights, I have just been diving in to research, and like our brains just going overload and us discussing things back and forth. Um, just like you said, like I really like I built like an arsenal overload of information. um it's crazy all of the research that I was able to just garner and preserve.
Mhm.
But I really feel like it it's given me a really big perspective on so many different things, but I'm so honored to have been able to help contribute, and hopefully if needed to help keep contributing. Um it's been a long road, and I know that it's going to be continue to be a longer road until this comes to a conclusion. So I just hope that we get there. Um, you know, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm still gearing and ready to go. So,
You know, I've I've been, waiting and watching, and I heard Osbert talking about the appeal options, and it sounds like they may be able to get an appeals or a post conviction relief kind of quickly. Kind of how it sounded. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so take that take that how it is.
yeah,
But
it did.
it sound like it might not take too long.
Well, I pray that it's a quick overturn for Rick and for Kathy and for everybody involved. Like this really like this needs to be redone, period. Um and then people that were actually involved in this crime actually need to be apprehended and charged with it.
Agreed.
Um I don't think that it's fair that an innocent person loses their life, and it's senseless in my opinion.
Yeah, there's unintended victims. Like I see, in my opinion, Rick is a victim. His daughter is a victim. His wife is a victim. His mother and father are victims.
Mhm.
It, Abby and Libby lost their life, and nothing is going to bring them back. So they are the main victims, and their families are there. The loss that they had is undescribable. I have held the hands of more parents that lost their children than anyone can comprehend. And I generally am working as a family's advocate when their children have died. So I understand their grief and their trauma. This is the first time that I am dealing with the grief and the trauma of a defendant and their family. And and it it has that right there has changed me as a person. And it will change the way that I do my work in the future, my normal work, my advocacy work. It will change the tone that I take with investigations in the future, and the families that I work with. And it will, it would, this has changed me. And I will, I will temper my tongue when talking about, you know, suspects, because innocent people get convicted every day. And his family deserves justice too. Everybody deserves justice. And the community deserves to be safe. Like, I don't think that Rick did this. I understand now has been convicted. So he has gone from suspect to whatever his new role, whatever word you want to use for it, but or offender. So he's now, switched status. I get that. But in my opinion, that community is still not safe because there are killers living and walking among them. That's insane to me. So continuing to look for the murders of those children is for that community's safety. It's to prevent more. It's to prevent more Libby's and Abby's, right? I mean, that's the whole goal. You can't have those psychos walk in the street. You just can't. So I have full faith and confidence that the people that I worked with can handle that with grace. I trust them implicitly. So I will sit back and watch them defend him with dignity and honor without shame, because I know that they are doing what they believe is right and what I believe is right. So there's that. There's my soapbox moment.
Yes. Right. Well, I appreciate you can have as many soapbox moments as you want. Okay. You deserve it. Um, each of you deserve it. You guys have put in so many hours and so much time and dedication. And we really just appreciate the fact that you're willing to come on. Um, and I say we as a collective, like everybody here, everybody who's watching, everybody who gets to watch the stream, we really appreciate the fact that you're able to come and talk to us to answer our questions. We are so very grateful to you for your time, and
Thank you for having.
words cannot express the gratitude I'm sure that, you know, Rick's family feels for you guys. Rick, um, and hopefully in the future, other people who are members of that community that can eventually, hopefully one day, feel like that they live in a safe environment, you know? Um, nobody wants to live in a cesspool.
Right. You got it.
So, Jenny 8675309 wants to know, do we know where the rest of Abby's blood went?
What was that?
She wants to know where the rest of Abby's blood. Do we know where the rest of Abby's blood went? Like, where did it go?
Dude, I don't know. So when I was in college, I was a triple major. I studied biology, medicine, and chemistry, right? So we worked with, I was lucky enough to go to a college that had cadavers in our lab. And, I studied all of that. And we looked at, injuries and all of that. And I took courses in criminology, and I can tell you, I don't freaking know. So when the blood spatter guy did his spiel, it didn't wash for me. Like it didn't. I know he's the expert, and so he's smarter than I am, and he's more qualified than I am. But like on a common sense basis, to me, it just didn't wash.
Just because he's an expert doesn't make him smarter.
Yeah. I mean, he's qualified and I'm not, but you're right. But like it didn't make sense. Like I understand that some people have seen those god awful pictures. I wish those had never seen the light of day, but they did, and it is what it is. But keep in mind those pictures were altered. You did not see original photographs. Those had tricks played on them by an unscrupulous member of the John Q public. But I was able to look at photos of the entire scene, and it left me with doubts. So you asked the same question that I did. Like, I don't know where it's at. So there's that. I can't.
Are you able to talk about the crime scene photos?
A little. A little. Yeah. I mean, I can talk about what I saw some.
Um, would you like would yeah, your observations if you would, please?
So, there really was a that Fehu, or I've heard it called a couple of different things. There really was that F with the upward slanted lines that was painted on a tree. Um, Libby Libby looked so peaceful. I know peaceful's not the right word, but no, wrong. I'm sorry. Abby looked um she looked like they had posed her to look comfortable. Like clearly not comfortable because she was injured, but she was made to look comfortable. Her hands were here, and they were bent, and then her sweatshirt was over, and then like kind of over her hands and tucked into the palm of her hand. So her hands were completely covered, and her arms were bent. She was dressed in She really was dressed in Libby's clothes.
And the hair that was in her hand.
Mm-hmm. She really did have a hair in her hand.
So it was like her hands were closed. The hair was in the hand, like with her hands closed, her
Uh,
hands inside of the sweater, correct?
and the hair was tucked in between two fingers. Like it was in there.
So in between the pinky finger and the ring finger?
Yeah, I think so. It could have been between the ring finger and the middle finger, but I seem to recall it being between the pinky and the ring finger. Um, her injuries were she just had one injury on her neck. She had a shoe underneath her with a cell phone. I don't remember if the cell phone was on top or underneath her shoe or underneath the shoe or inside of the shoe. I don't recall. Libby, the girls were kind of at this angle, like their feet were close
I
to each.
remember at the hearings they said it was inside of the shoe, but under Libby's leg.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That that washes.
Or
Uh,
not Libby's, Abby's, my bad.
yeah, I do that all the time, so I get it. I I can't tell cops apart either. So when we ever get if I ever talk about an officer, I get them all wrong all the time. I'll be like Holman, Liggett, what's his name? I eventually just start giving their title instead of their name because I don't remember who's who. Um, but anyway, Libby, 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 Libby was severely injured. She had also been posed. Her injuries were also to her throat. One of the girls, I don't remember which one it was, had some swelling at the base of the skull. But there was not like a corresponding injury that I recall. Um, so I don't know if that may come up in the future or not. So I don't really want to go into that because there wasn't really an explanation for that. Based on like my experience, if you're coming down with a cold or the flu, sometimes that will cause the base of your brain to swell a little bit. And sometimes just trauma. So, I mean, it could be something, could be nothing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor either. I'm not a lawyer or a doctor. So now that we are all clear, um, so there was that. There was not really the bullet that they found was like right between their feet, kind of. There was a gap between them, and then the bullet would be like between their feet. Um, it was found the day that the girls were found. The bullet was retrieved before the girls were moved. Um, all of the crime scene photos of the actual crime scene, like where there's that whole bridge area is all crime scene, the greater crime scene, but like the main crime scene where the girls were found. Um, all of those photos and evidence collection was done with the girls still there. Um, the rest is kind of as you've heard. Like there's not really any surprises
And
at
the sticks, the collection of the sticks, did they leave the sticks there initially and go back and retrieve the sticks, correct?
yes, that is correct.
And do we know what length of time it was between the the retrieval of the sticks?
I don't recall. I think they said in court. I think in court they said it was a couple days, maybe a day later. But they left, so when they processed that crime scene, the day that the crime scene guys were out there, right? So the day that the girls were found, so the 14th, they left officers there for at least another day. So even when they were done processing the crime scene, they still left cops there to secure that crime scene for at least one more day and maybe even two. So they were they were not really at the crime scene itself that I recall, but that may come up as conversation for, you may hear about that later. But yeah, I recall I recall mention about having to come back for those. Like they didn't realize. You can't get fingerprints are funny things. Like you can't get them off of wood really unless um unless it's like a super smooth piece of wood and your hands are covered in blood or something. You're really not going to get any fingerprints off of it. And I think they assumed that the blood that was on it was the girls's, and that's probably why they left it. I don't know, but they did come back once they realized that they made a oopsie. They came back and got them. So I can't really Monday morning quarterback them either.
So
Like,
they went back and retrieved the
mhm,
sticks on February 15th,
I think so.
right?
Yeah, I think that's what I heard in court. I think it was the 15th.
Okay. Okay. Aaron wants to know, should we put effort into identifying which branch of law enforcement that we are talking about in case there are several sides?
Which branch of law enforcement did what? I don't understand the question, I think.
I'm not sure either. It may be something that we were talking about like a while back up, and
Mm.
because we're like a lot of questions to come in, so we're still we're it's okay. I'm sure she'll clarify it for us.
So, I suppose if
Um,
you wanted to look at like flaws that were made or whatever, yeah, it probably makes sense to do that. If you want to know who did it, like who made an oopsie. But if you find an oopsie that you didn't hear about in court, there
right.
still collecting evidence. Like, evidence collection did not stop. Like, they are not done investigating. So if you find something new that you think they don't have already, we'll get you in touch with Erica and you can send her what you got. Or you can send it to me and I'll send it. Better to send it straight to Erica. Because they're still investigating. Like, they're not done yet. They got more work to do. So if you find something new, send that to her. But as far as like knowing which department did what, maybe. I don't I don't know. If I don't know. That's going to be my answer. I don't know.
Okay, so Goblin Mom wants to know, was the defense able to locate the missing items of clothing allegedly worn by Libby and Abby?
So they found clothes in the creek. So I know that Abby's clothes were retrieved from the creek, and then Abby was wearing Libby's clothes. So there were two pieces missing, and that comes from public filings, right? That anybody's been able to read, and that's one pair of panties and a sock.
Yeah, the underwear and the sock.
Yeah, those are still missing, I believe. I don't believe the defense had them because we didn't see them in court.
Okay. So Raphael Webb says, if someone is certain they know BG is there a way this tip can be sent to the former defense investigator? It was overlooked by the task force.
Yes. So you can, I would send it to the current investigator. She runs Victims News Online newspaper. So you can Google up her newspaper um, and find her that way. Or her email is info@victimsnewsonline.com. And you can email her directly.
Awesome sauce. So let's keep going. Christy Sharp would like to know, can Christine give us a hint who she thinks are involved?
Um, so in short, no. However, I can say that if if any of you all are going to continue to look for who you think might have done so, I urge you to be careful. tread lightly and quietly, because there are some really dangerous people in Delphi. So that's as good as you're gonna get at the moment, because there are appeals coming, and third party is third party. So
All right. Hi, Mar. Welcome in. Welcome into anybody that I haven't said hello to. Just to get you caught up, we are with former defense investigator, Miss Christine. She has been gracious enough to come in and answer questions for us tonight. Give us like her thoughts and her perspectives of her journey throughout working through this case. And yeah, I'm so excited that you finally get to talk. Yeah, so like I really just I just want to keep going, but like I really want to I don't know what you get to share, what you don't get to share. So I kind of just want you to take the reins and let us know what you're able to get into. I
so
mean, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
so I so like the case as a whole, it is what it is, right? The suspects are going to be the suspects, the defendants are going to be the defendants, and the cops are going to be the cops, and the lawyers are going to be the lawyers. Like those things are like the same in every homicide case, right? What has shocked me about this case in particular is the amount of crazy. Like, I have sat back for 2 years and watched just absolutely batshit crazy. So, YouTube has been like, I had to watch it to learn. Like, we came across a lot of information by watching YouTube, right? But holy crap, the cast of characters has just been insane.
Yeah.
Like, there are some people that just do not know how to act. It has been crazy. And I've sat there in silence. Like, I've moved throughout the YouTube world and said nothing until just the last few weeks. In the last few weeks, after the conviction, I started like saying hi and like, you know, commenting a little bit, but I still was bound by the gag order. So I couldn't answer any questions. I couldn't talk about the case at all. I could just say things like bingo, like if they were talking about something that wasn't related to Rick, right? I was still careful about that. Gag order said that we couldn't talk about evidence or things pertaining to the case, right? So even when I was commenting, I had to be careful to comment about things that weren't about Rick, because there was that gag order. But sitting there and not being able to correct things that were just sheer nonsense, right? Um, it's been it's been a hell of an experience. And being a female PI, like, I operated in a man's world. Thank God I had Erica next to me, because I wasn't the only one, right? And we had Jen Auger, she is a phenomenal lawyer. Like, I want to be here one day, you know. But being a female PI is tough because you don't get the same amount of respect the guys get. And I did with that team. Like,
Yeah.
we were treated as we weren't equals because, you know, we were working for lawyers, but I mean, we were treated the same with the same dignity and respect as the other investigators. But it's been a whirlwind. Like, when I first started, I was like over the moon because holy shit, I was headhunted. The job came to me. I didn't even go looking to work in Delphi. Like, it came to me. And I remember just being, for the first couple weeks, I was like, is this really my life now? Am I really doing this? Holy shit, I'm really doing this. This is the craziest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, I am really the highest profile murder in the country, and I'm investigating it. Holy shit. Well, then after, you know, a couple months, I was like, hold on. Nobody knows I'm working on the highest profile murder in the world. Like, so I was able to calm down because, like, I was just this secret anonymous person that was just floating through. So I was able to do my job. So it kind of helped in that way in the beginning because I was able to maneuver the places I needed to maneuver and I could move in silence, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to notice me doing surveillance when they don't freaking know who I was, right? The It was funny the first week of trial, I saw somebody's live and they're like, "Yeah, Rick Allen's daughter was there today, sitting right in front of me." And I was like, "Wait a minute. I was sitting in front of you, dumbass. I'm not Rick's daughter. I'm 50. Rick and Kathy are like 50 and 52 or 54. You know what I mean? Like, they would have had to be toddlers for me to be their children."
Oh my. Yeah.
It was hilarious when I started getting
Mhm.
messages saying, "Did you know that you're Rick's daughter?" I was like, "What the hell?" So I was able to kind of settle in when I realized that really nobody knew who I was and and like that. Um, but
Yeah.
the end, it got difficult because it that gag order hindered my ability to reach out to people and interview people that may have had information because I can't reach out and interview someone that's the mouth of the South, no matter how good their information is. You know what I mean? If I'm going to go interview them and they are then
Mhm.
going to get on a camera and
Yes.
do everything that they told me for, you know, for the whole world to see, I couldn't. In a normal case without a gag order, that would have been fine. But for this case, it got in the way. So there's that. So, but you know, overall, I wish
Right.
I could tell you more about like specific incidents in the case, but I'm kind of stuck. Like,
We do have a couple more questions.
I'm pulling an Alimata and smoking.
So Cleveland Rocks wants to know if there was anyone at the park or the plant that had been questioned, and you're good with smoking. No worries.
Okay, good.
I just kind of been turning the camera off.
It's but
Yeah, you're good. No worries.
it looks trashy, but it's me. So at the park, I don't think the park was there yet. So no. Um, at the plant, I are you talking about the Packers, Indiana Packers? If you are,
The
man,
plant across the street. Yes.
yeah, Indiana Packers. So yes, they at one point were given an office in Indiana Packers so that they could bring men in and out of that office to talk to them, question them, take a DNA swab. They took hundreds. There is so much DNA in this case. So much DNA. I mean, not so much from the crime scene,
Yeah. How many swabs? Like 150 plus,
but
maybe?
yeah, yeah, easily
Right.
150. So, you know,
Yeah. A lot
uh,
of swabs.
we learned from the click report, which everybody has seen, that not every branch of law enforcement agreed on what direction they should be looking in and um, what their next step should be and who they should be looking at, what kind of person they should be looking at. But when they went to choose who to interview, I think every sex offender in town got interviewed, probably most of them. But Packers, because they would have all been inside the geofence, right? Because it's right there. So they interviewed a lot of people at Indiana Packers. I couldn't name them all, but a lot of them, because it's just by convenience. It's just right there. Packers had a camera, but it only takes live video.
What? That's it? Live video and they don't store it?
Correct. At Indiana Packers, yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm,
It's very interesting.
mhm.
Okay. Pebbles, or no, yeah, Pebbles wants to know, do you know why Kathy Allen didn't testify?
I do. I can say I don't want to speak for her because she may at some time choose to speak for herself, right? I can say that I saw the defense's pre-trial filing, this or pre-sentencing filing that they put out. I think it hit the public sphere yesterday. And their opinion is that there will be an appeal. And so that's why they chose to not say much today. They warned Judge Gull that they would not be presenting much today, because these charges are, it is what it is. And I think that if that, now I'm assuming, I am not speaking for the attorneys, right? But if you know that you're going to have a second trial, there's no need to put her through that. There's no need to put her through that, and there's no need to put Rick through that, because we also learned at trial, right, that when they questioned Rick, they also questioned Kathy, and Kathy was traumatized from that. She was crying and she was shaking, and they, you know so then they brought her to Rick after that interview and continued to film them. So there really was no reason to have Kathy go through that, because there's going to be a second trial. That's that. So that's my opinion of why they didn't do it. I don't know that that's really the reason, but that
Thank you.
makes sense to me.
Okay. Bedtime stories with Bella Lugosi would like to know, do you know if the defense attorneys have spoken to any of the jury members after the verdict?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have no idea. The gag order wasn't lifted until today. Um, and I have watched trials where the judge will address the jury and say, we're gonna all stay here, give you time to get to your cars. Feel free to talk to, the attorneys if you would like, but you don't have to. They have that kind of conversation. And I don't recall that from the closing of this case, but I was really in shock. So I don't want to trust my memory on that one. I would more trust one of the mainstream media, some of their articles I would look up. Some of them have written out what all the judge said, but normally attorneys can't approach the jurors. The jurors have to. It has to go the other way. The jurors have to approach the attorneys. So I don't know if they did or not. It'd be interesting if they did. I would like nothing more than to hear from them. Especially if they've taken the time to look around since trial. Because I don't blame them at all, because they only had the information that they had, right? So they did what they did with what they had. I think we might have lost her this time.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, you didn't lose me. I'm here. Let me go through here. Um, Aaron was asking how many people, in your opinion, do you believe were involved in the deleting of Abby and Libby?
At least two, in like my personal opinion. At least two. And here's why. This is just me using common sense and not me using it like evidence. This is not like me using what I learned from discovery. This is just me using common sense, right? there were two different weapons used, according to the medical examiner's first, when he first did the report, when he did the autopsy, there were two different weapons. One was a straight blade, one was a serrated blade. He didn't change his story to say box cutter until after Rick was arrested. And the medical examiner was told that Rick worked at a CVS. That's how I remember it, right? So if you have two different weapons and two sharp force fatalities, how do you do what you're doing to one and the other not run? So there's that. How do you do what you're doing to one and the other not scream? There's that, because there were other people there that day. And voices carry in that area, because they were down in that it's almost like a canyon kind of, or a ravine. It echoes wicked down there. Had there been a scream, people would have heard it. The other reason that I say that is because if you do what you did to those girls to one, you would leave a handprint on the other. And that did not happen. So that lack of transfer from one to the other makes me suspicious. So I would assume common sense, at least two.
Okay. Woman wants me to tell you that you have her heart. Catastrophe says, what about the blood direction?
Yeah, I have issues with that too. Um, I've seen the original photos, a lot of them. So what was leaked was just it was bad enough. So bad. But there were better photos. Better photos is a bad way to put that. There were other photos that showed closer up what we were looking at, or what I was looking at. Um, the blood directions, it doesn't make sense. Like I couldn't make it jive. Like I couldn't even figure out how that happened. Liquids go downhill, right? Newton's law of gravity. What goes up must come down. I don't know how it went up. If it's weird. I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of how that went. And I have a feeling that we may have better answers in the future. I mean, that's just me hypothesizing. I think we might get a better idea of what happened in the future, maybe.
Okay. Well, do you mind if we come back and do like a part 2?
Yep.
And just kind of let what we've gone over tonight sink in. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on tonight and taking the time to talk to us, share your perspectives. And I look forward to digging in so much more with you uh this next time.
Me too. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You all have you know, you've done so much. You've done so much for Rick and for Kathy. You know, when injustice happens, you have a choice to either be quiet or be loud. And I'm really grateful for those that chose to be loud. You're all rock stars in my eyes. So have a good night. Thank you, Gritty. We'll do this again in the future, I'm sure.
Thank you. Definitely. We're going to do this again, and we'll be able to dig in so much more. But again, thank you so much for your time, your attention, and we just got to keep fighting the good fight. You have a blessed and beautiful night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. All right, folks. Thank you so much for coming and joining and listening tonight. I thank you for taking the time to come and listen. Please don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe, and we will come back with a secondary part to this. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we will try to hit everything that we are able to hit for answers. If we're unable to answer it, Christine will say she's unable to. So with that, y'all have a blessed and beautiful evening. Have a great night.